मधुरं मधुरेभ्योऽपि मङ्गलेभ्योऽपि मङ्गलम् पावनं पावनेभ्योऽपि हरेर्नामैव केवलम् हरेर्नामैव केवलम् आब्रह्मस्तम्भपर्यन्तं सर्वं मायामयं जगत् सत्यं सत्यं पुनः सत्यं हरेर्नामैव केवलम् हरेर्नामैव केवलम् स गुरुः स पिता चापि सा माता बान्धवोऽपि सः शिक्षयेच्चेत् सदा स्मर्तुं हरेर्नामैव केवलम् हरेर्नामैव केवलम् निःश्वासेन हि विश्वासः कदा रुद्धो भविष्यति कीर्तनीयमति बाल्यात् हरेर्नामैव केवलम् हरेर्नामैव केवलम् हरिः सदा वसेत्तत्र यत्र भागवता जनाः गायन्ति भक्तिभावेन हरेर्नामैव केवलम् हरेर्नामैव केवलम् अहो दुःखं महादुःखं दुःखात् दुःखतरं यतः काचार्थं विस्मृतं रत्नं हरेर्नामैव केवलम् हरेर्नामैव केवलम् दीयतां दीयतां कर्णो नीयतां नीयतां वचः गीयतां गीयतां नित्यं हरेर्नामैव केवलम् हरेर्नामैव केवलम् तृणीकृत्य जगत्सर्वं राजते सकलोपरि चिदानन्दमयं शुद्धं हरेर्नामैव केवलम् चिदानन्दमयं शुद्धं हरेर्नामैव केवलम् 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 हरेर्नामैव केवलम्
Thank you. That was very, very nice.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavāvahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti 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 Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shanti. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamādāya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. 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 Om Shanti S the knowledge of anything other than the Atma and the knowledge of the Atma, is there are some similarities and differences, but it's important to see. The first thing is the similarity. Knowledge is knowledge. It happens. We talked about that. It simply takes place. It simply is, it takes place. Even if you don't want to know, you come to know a lot of things. For example, things that other people have said about you that you wished you hadn't known, but you do come to know. Knowledge takes place. And there is very little, if any, will involved in knowing. In fact, we should say there is no will involved in knowing. Knowing is not an act, even though there is a verb called to know, jñā dhatu. Knowing itself is not an act. There is no will involved in knowing. Knowledge happens. This is of the same for object and for the subject. Subject means oneself. However, there are some important differences between the knowledge of the object, of various objects like pot, etc., and then the knowledge of the subject, with very important differences. What are they? First thing is that the knowledge of the objects, when you hear about an object and hearing about Atma, completely different things. So, when you hear about the object, the ignorance about the object goes away. Let's say you didn't know that there was a place, Timbuktu. It is a place in Africa. So you didn't know that. And then now you know that. Okay. So there is no there is not any particular expectation of a transformation happening within oneself as a result of that knowledge of objects. As I said earlier, to put it differently, the knowledge of objects leaves the knower in place. Knower means the ahankara, the I identified as the knower. The knowledge of the subject, on the other hand, queries the reality of the knower. And since the Atma is not anything in particular, you cannot say, I got it, I have it. That's why the mind in the story, in the Taittiriya Upanishad, the mind and the, what's its name, the speech come back crestfallen, tired, sad, in pain. They come back. Because you cannot really say, I got it. There is no it, that it happens to be you. This is a very important difference, you know. And so, and how is that expressed traditionally? In the Shastra, there is, the knowledge of anatma, meaning the knowledge of objects. There is two parts in the cognition. There are two parts in every cognition. Knowledge of, let's say, pot, you know so if I say, do you know, if I say, do you see this pot? You say, yes, I know this pot now. I am now the knower of the pot, if you were to say. Then, there are two operations that happen where the knowledge of pot is gained. So, suppose if I say pot, there is already a pot thought that arises in the head, because that's why we have language and most of the words are known. If not, you can Google it, look it up. you know dictionary.com is always there at hand and you can look it up immediately. So the knowledge of the object happens. And then, this is where it's very interesting. So when I say pot, there is already a pot thought that has arisen in the head. Some pot has appeared. Maybe it's a big silver pot. Maybe it's some kind of a chalice. Maybe it's a clay pot. We don't know. In every head, whoever hears this, there's a different concept of a pot. Then I show a small teaching clay pot. Then what happens? If I show a small teaching clay pot, then there is an adjustment that happens in the head. The Ishta pot, like Ishta Devata, so you have an Ishta pot that arises in the head, and the Ishta pot is replaced by the empirical pot in my hand. The cognition is replaced. You see? So then that is the second part of the operation of knowing. So first part is what? So it is, it is this. It is like, the pot thought arises in the head, and as though to confirm whether the pot that is in my head is the same pot that you are showing me, the you know the knowledge, or the means of knowledge, here the eyes, etc. Here in this example, the eyes, they move from, as it were, from themselves to go wrap around the pot in question. The knowledge wraps itself around the pot and brings back information that about that pot. It is this big, it is tiny, it's a teaching pot. So this is part one of the cognition. Part two of this cognition is what is we call recognition, the recognition of pot. Because the pot in the head is kicked out and reconfirmed with this pot, which is, which the knowledge has been brought. So that adjustment, and when you say, I am the knower of the pot, I know it as an object, that is the second part of cognition of objects. Very interesting. So the first part, i.e., the means of knowledge, pratyaksha pramanani, all the pramanas which move out from, as it were, the body, mind, sense complex, like the eyes, etc., they move out and quote unquote wrap themselves around the object to be known and bring back. They become like detectives. They are gatherers of information. They take, the sense organs take copious notes and bring it back to the mind. And the mind then compares the part that is in the head with the information that it has gathered, that the sense organs have gathered, and adjusts it accordingly. This is operation number two. The first operation is called vritti vyapti, a technical term. Vritti vyapti. I think I should write it down since we have been writing down all technical terms. What it is, I just mentioned, otherwise it will be too long to write that. Vritti Vyapti. So it's a two-part cognition. We are talking about how the cognition of the I differs from the cognition of the not I, and which is why Shravanam is needed. This is why one has to hear about the Atma, and we'll talk more about that. But first, let us understand this two-part operation. So this is called Vritti Vyapti. And and this is described very nicely in the Dakshinamurti Stotram. Nana Chidra Ghatodara Sthita Mahadeepa Prabhabhaswaram Jnanam Yasya Tu Chakshuradikarana Dvara Bahispandate. So, Nana Chidra Ghata Udara Sthita Mahadeepa Prabhabhaswaram. It's an ancient example. In olden days, they did not have disco. They did not have any such things. So they had one strong light over which they covered a kind of a, clay, what is that? Clay pot upside down with a lot of apertures in the shape of animals, in the shape of stars, sun, moon, etc. And then, so when it was dark, it was for the children. So then the elephant would be in the wall, on the wall, and then there would be a sun, there would be a crescent moon, there would be some birds, and the child would be shown all these things. And sometimes you could put it on a potter's wheel kind of a thing, you could make it all go round. And so, and then you would see so many, as many holes are there in this covering. You can see that many, what's its name, that many light, the beams of light. That many beams of light. Let's say there are five holes in the pot that is covering this, then you see five beams of light, correct? You see five beams of light, and then, and then what? The five is given why? Because of the five sense organs. So there is one light of knowing which lends itself simultaneously to become five. And the pramanas, the pratyaksha pramanani, the five pramanas that we have been talking about, which one has access to, the five immediate means of knowledge, direct perception, you know, the five sense organs, they go out as it were. And the light is the light of consciousness, the light of knowledge, the Satchidananda, blessed light, you know, coming through a particular aperture called eyes, whose function is only to see, not to hear, not to touch, not to do anything else, not to infer, not to deduce, nothing, only to see. And then the same light lends itself to, as though, quote unquote, become the ears, whose job is only to hear the various kinds of sounds. Amazing. So, like the pot with many apertures, Nana Chidra Ghata Udara, whose stomach, the stomach of the pot means the round part of the pot has many apertures, and it is put upside down on Mahadeepa Prabha, Bhaswaram. And similarly, Jnanam, this knowledge, not don't ask knowledge of what. It's not knowledge of something. It is simply that self sentient awareness. I know I know I am all the time. This is what is knowledge. It's not knowing anything in particular, because that particular knowledge is yet to take place. So, this quote unquote knowledge, I mean, it's a very bad translation, but what else to say? In English, it's a bad translation. In Sanskrit, jnanam means something which we can, say bhave prayoga. We can say we are using it in an abstract sense. We have that bhave prayoga, abstract usage. So, we are not talking of the knower. We are not talking of the known. We are not talking of a means of knowledge. That self awareness that lends its existence to everything but doesn't become any one thing. So it goes through these apertures called eyes, ears, nostrils, etc., picks up information and comes back. This is called vritti vyapti. And then the knower rises, after the needing adjustments have taken place, the knower rises and says, I got it. I am now the knower of this pot. I have seen it, I have heard it with my own ears, I have tasted it, I have experienced it, and so I am now the knower. If supposing, when the person says this is operation number two, first is the cognition of a particular object and the recognition of it and the claiming of it as an object in the mind. And this is called phalavyapti. Means there is a phala there. There is a phala, there is a fruit of this knowledge. What is the fruit? I, the subject, is the knower of the pot, the object. Now, this is for all anatma, all objects. But for the knowledge of the subject, there is a difference. What is the difference? There is vritti vyapti, all right. Because jnanam is vritti jnanam. The teacher teaches, that's why shravanam. The teacher teaches. And what does the teacher teach? The teacher amplifies the message of the Upanishads. It is in the form of a thought. You take it in the form of a thought. You already have an I thought, and that I thought unfortunately is associated with I am miserable, I'm an idiot, I'm a donkey. Why do I do this? Why didn't I do this? This is the I thought, seeking, what is that? Misery, seeking company in misery, and identifying with the ahankara and saying I'm no good. And then the words of the teacher waft into the ears because of Shravadam. And what do the words of the Shastra and the teacher say? They are identical, of course. And so the words of the Shastra and the teacher says, Tattvamasi, you are the whole. Purnamadaha Purnamidham. You are unlike anything else in the universe. You are that which is the cause of the universe. Whatever you want to be, you already are. You have nothing more to do, nowhere to go. You just you can continue to live in your own glory. And you are glorious. You're not an idiot. You're not dumb. You're not a donkey. You are just, you are just everything. You are wondrous. This is what the teacher says. And then there is what, eagerly, here what happens, the mind along with the ahankara, etc., grasps this, grasps within quotes, but not as an object. So vritti vyapti, so this message, this, in the teaching situation, there are many aha moments, correct? So the aha moments, is because there is something called akhandakara vritti. I have to write this down too. Again, another technical term. Akhandakara vritti means there is a thought of oneness that is planted in the head through the words of the teacher in the student's head. The thought of oneness. So the message of oneness which the teacher gives is grasped in the form of a thought. And the vritti dies away. It self destructs because kshanika vritti. Vritti is, short lived. How long does the thought live? You know, by the time you start thinking, how long did the last thought about wanting ice cream, how long did it live? By that time, what, you have already have had at least 59 more thoughts, most of which you have not even aware of. So the thought is extremely finite. And of course, there's a big discussion in the Vartika and in other, what is said in other works as well. There is a discussion. How can the finite vritti give the knowledge of the infinite? Be the bearer of the knowledge of the infinite? It can. Why? Because the infinite happens to be you. It's not that the finite vritti in its dying breath is holding the infinite on a platter and putting it in your lap and then dying. No, that's not what it's doing. The infinite is you. The vritti is just indicating that, and then it dies away. But before it dies away, it does a big thing. What does it do? It's like the words of the teacher are like the words of the teacher is like a flower, or like flowers. The vrittis, the vritti jnanam, this akhandakara vritti means the vritti, or the thought of this, the message of oneness, which is understood as a thought, in the form of a thought. So the message of oneness is like a flower that comes from the mouth of the teacher, like flowers that come from the mouth of the teacher. And, you know, worship the Bhagavan within you. This very so beautiful. But where is this Bhagavan? Behind a tall wall, a tall wall of ragadveshas. You know, a tall wall of ragadveshas built over many, 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 many lifetimes, because people like borders. And this wall of ragadveshas has kept one safe, so safe that now it has become a karagraha. Karagraha means a jail. Now it has become a jail. One is so safe that one is almost incarcerated within the bars, within the low bars of all these useless notions. One is imprisoned by the notions. So, where is this Bhagavan? Bhagavan is also cordoned off by this wall. I have a big wall between myself and the Jagat, myself and others, other jivas, and of course myself and Bhagavan. So, akhandakara vritti, the words of oneness, given by the teacher. What do? They break open the wall and fall at the feet of the Lord within. So, this jiva, the one that went to the teacher, ajnana nidra suptah, the one who was sleeping the sleep of ignorance for many, many, many lifetimes, wakes up and has darshan of Bhagavan within. Very nice. And the vritti dies away. The vritti goes away. But that aha remains. Because that aha is you. That's what it is. So, in the matter of self knowledge, in the matter of the knowledge of the Atma, there is no second operation possible or even necessary. Phala vyapti. You don't have to sort of think, okay, now I am whole. Let me see if I was whole before, or how does it compare to the unwholesome me? No, there is no such thing, because that has eradicated everything else that went before. Complete and total it is. So therefore, in the knowledge of objects, there is a kind of a two-part operations. You know, this is part one. I know this part, that I as an entity which is subject, which is the subject, which is separate from the object, stands separate even after the acquisition of the knowledge of the part. And then what about in the knowledge of the subject? Huh? I know myself. Then what? Even to say that there is an aruchi, it doesn't sound right, because you are not an object. Never are you an object. It is not possible to objectify. So I know myself means what? I am one with this knowledge. Akhandakara vritti. This is how the knowledge is communicated. The vritti, the thought dies away, leaving in its wake. It indicates before it goes away, the series of akhandakara vrittis, you know, go, go deep and remove what is called self ignorance. And in removing the self ignorance, asheshataha, without any residue, they have done their job. Because you are not a thought. Satchidananda is not a thought. It is you. It has pointed to the Satchidananda, and then the thoughts are gone. The thoughts have no purpose. Thoughts are gone. You remain. This is very different from object knowledge, isn't it? Yeah. This is this is the first difference. There is one more difference, you know, ensuing from this. When you know the object, when you know an object, any object, you don't become the object, correct? This is a frog, said what? The biology professor was an expert on frogs. you know like that, there are people who just study one animal whole life. And in fact, there was one professor, I think now retired long ago. There was one professor who studied only bats all the time. All fruit bats, this bat, that bat. And very interestingly, his name was Bhatnagar. But in this country, everybody called him Batnagar. So, whole life given to bats all the time. And then entire life filled with all kinds of bats. And then, but then, after 50 years of engaging with bats, you know, he did not become a bat. But Brahmavit Brahmaiva Bhavati. Only his name was Bat Nagar. That's very interesting. That's why I always say Bhagavan has a sense of humor. Very much so. So, you know, so it is, he was separate from the bat. Likewise, a professor of microbiology, after teaching microbiology for 20 years, doesn't come into the classroom and then you need a microscope to look at her, because has become one with the microbes. No. You always are separate from what you know, where anatma is concerned. The object knowledge is always separate from the I. The knower is very much in place as I am the knower, I am the knower. I got one more PhD, give me a pat on the back, give me a certificate, which then I'll have to find a wall to hang it on, you know. Already the wall of raga dveshas is there, hang it on that, no problem. So this is what the whole thing is. But in atma knowledge, brahmavit brahmaiva bhavati, there is, since the knowledge, even though we call it knowledge, it's not a knowledge of anything in particular. It's not a knowledge of anything in particular. It is, why? Because it is the understanding that I am neither knower nor an object of knowledge nor the means of knowledge, but I am that very sentience that effortlessly and simultaneously upholds all three without being any one of them. Knower is me? Yes, I'm not the knower. I'm much more than just this little, epithet called knower. Known is, of course, me. It's not outside of me, but I am not an object of knowledge. I'm not outside, I transcend objects. And what about the means of knowledge? All means of knowledge come forth from me, sustained by me. Who is me here? Not the ahankara. Self effulgent consciousness, self aware consciousness, that is who I am. All pramanas rise and fall and are sustained, by me. But then I am not any single pramana. If I was hearing, then what would be sight? Then I would not be sight, and then I would be then I would say Atma is limited. Then if I was seeing, then I would not be tasting. I'm everything, but nothing in particular. Nameless, formless sentience. This is what is called all knowledge. But then in the knowledge of objects, you very much are there as a separate entity. This is the second difference. Very, very important. And there is one more difference. What is this difference? Very interesting. What is that? The knowledge of objects, it happens. It happens very instantaneously. Both happen instantaneously. Like I say, I know this pot. This pot, I know. And then you say, I know this Atma. That also happens instantaneously. But then, when you say, I know this pot, you don't have to, there is not any kind of a resistance, most of the time, in the knowledge of an object. In knowing an object, you don't have to deal with yourself. Oh, this pot. I know the pot. Oh my God, how is my life going to be transformed now that I know this pot? Maybe it would have been better off if I didn't know this pot. You don't have to sit and stew, because you know so many things. So many things you know. And one more thing, knowledge you picked up because of Google, because of smartphones, all these things. One more piece of knowledge you picked up. Big deal. It is picked up effortlessly. In fact, to drop anatma ignorance, you don't need any effort, happens automatically. See here, look here. When the baby is born, it has two kinds of ignorance. It doesn't know I am Bhagavan, and it also doesn't know who is my mummy, who is my daddy. It has anatma ignorance. It has atma ignorance. Both kinds of ignorances it has. It'll go to anybody. A 3-month-old child, you pick it up, it will come to you. No problem. It will cuddle with you. Then you visit the child after 6 more months. Now the child is 9 or 10 months. Then you try to hold it. It will scream and it will say, I don't know who you are. You are not my mother. You are not my father. How did this happen in just 6 months? Mother ignorance dropped. Father ignorance dropped. Stranger ignorance dropped. This is a stranger. Stranger means danger. And I don't know who you are and I'm not going to come to you. So, this is anatma ignorance dropped. Then the child is 1 year old. Then it knows this is my house. This is my sibling, and it knows the hierarchy. The sibling doesn't have to be listened to. The sibling is for punching and getting away with it, because I'm small and I'm cute and I looks like I'm getting away with most things. This also I can get away. So the sibling is someone to snatch from. The parents are to be a little bit feared because sometimes they yell for no reason and sometimes they are nice. And so, so the child learns all this automatically. Then it goes to daycare, some more anatma ignorance, drop, 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 drop. Then it goes to school, A, B, C, D, ignorance dropped. And then it goes to college, then the more ignorance, anatma ignorance is dropped. Anatma means object ignorance. And how many objects are there in the world? The world is infinite. It's an expanding universe. The physicists will say, you keep on knowing and discovering more and more and more things. This is Bhagavan. Purna madaha, purna midam. The effect is infinite. The cause is infinite. And so everything keeps dropping. It's an endless exercise. It's not even an exercise because it happens automatically. Now, if I were to say, if I were to sit at home and say, knowledge happens automatically, so Atma knowledge also will come someday, I would be totally wrong. This is an important, very important difference between object knowledge and subject knowledge. Object knowledge, happens automatically. Subject knowledge also happens, but you have to choose to be in a place to expose yourself to this knowledge. Ah, you have to make the effort. This is what is called jignasa, jnatum ichha, the desire to know. The desire for freedom, everybody has. Even a mosquito has desire for freedom. But the desire for freedom has to be converted to the desire to know. And that is what is called jignasa, the desire to know. Jnatum ichha. It has to be converted, it has to be transformed. And in this transformation, you are transformed. There is no more I as an entity. This is another big difference. The final difference is that when you know objects, you know it fully, completely. You say, aha, before I was ignorant of X, now I am no longer ignorant of X. And then you can chart the date and the time when you gain the knowledge of this particular entity. Then you may know more about that entity, but there is a particular, that you can, because this knowledge of the objects is unfolding where? In time. So since it's unfolding in time, you can say, hey, I know this. Hey, before I didn't know this. Now, on this particular day, at this particular time, now I know this. You can't say this of Atma knowledge. Atma knowledge is not something that rises and is produced. Suresvaracharya devotes numerous verses, which we are not going to go into. We don't have the time for that. That's why I'm summarizing the arguments here. So you don't miss the Vartika, you just miss going verse by verse. That's all. You're getting all the message. So he devotes numerous verses to talk about this very fact that when you know anatma, when you know an object in the universe, that knowledge you have, and you can say that I didn't know that this so and such a thing was a separate country. I didn't know that. Now I know. And on this day, I knew. And then, the temptation is to extend this particular logic even to Atmajnanam, self knowledge. Sometimes I have seen sadhus celebrate Enlightenment Day. I was enlightened on such and such a day. And they will have a big party and invite all their followers, their devotees, and their devotees are very, very happy. This is a very big problem. Yeah. I'm sorry to say, but this is a tremendous problem to say that knowledge, Atma knowledge has risen like the sun in the heart. And yesterday there was no knowledge. Now it has come. Now means what? On this particular day, in this particular time. And we have this spiritual romanticism collectively, and that has to be shed. with the help of the Upanishad. You have to shed this ignorance that there is this thing called enlightenment. That's why I rarely use the word enlightenment. I like to stick to the word self knowledge. That's a better phrase, because enlightenment borders dangerously on pratibhasika. It has a touch of subjectivity. Think about it. It has a touch of subjectivity, because when I say enlightenment, before I was ignorant, now I am not, and on this particular day, at this particular muhurta, sumuhurta, I got this knowledge. That means what? Knowledge is something that, it's an event that happens to the self. It's an event that, alters the self. If knowledge is an event and an event by definition is that which unfolds in time, correct? Huh. So then, if this knowledge of the I is dependent on time, I cannot say Atma is timeless. Then that would be, and all the sentences which say Atma is immortal, Amritatvam, and then Amritaha Bhavanti, te ye viduhu, those who know, te Amritaha Bhavanti. Many Upanishads have this sentence: those who know become immortal, become free of time. Yasya brahmacha kshatram cha ubhe bhavatah odanam mrityuhu upasejanam yasya kaitha veda tasya saha. Very beautiful. So, for whom all hierarchies, for which person with self knowledge, all hierarchies are but, like gradations in societies, are like rice and dal on a plate. They are consumed. All divisions are consumed. Upper class, middle class, lower class, this one, that one, Brahmana, Kshatriya, all consumed, like they're just mixed up like rice and dal, and then made into a ball and thrown into the mouth. South Indian style. In South India, we have all these, what is that, rules about how to eat and all these things, especially in a religious meal. So you eat without, what is that, licking your fingers. You don't, you don't do that. And then you eat without, so you also drink without touching the glass to your lips. That is another art. you know you can cultivate it. You can try at home when no one is looking. You kind of go glug 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 glug, and it comes naturally if you have grown up in a South Indian household. So if you're eating, especially in a wedding or something, you're sitting next to other people, so you can't slurp, and you cannot let the rasam run to the elbow and all these things. You have to be careful. Rasam means it's just a liquid, with a little spices. That's all it is. Spicy liquid. So you can't let it run and then lap it up with your tongue. And so you kind of make it into a ball. You mix whatever you're mixing. You mix the sambar with the rice, make it into a ball, and then you throw it. It's like basketball. This is the basket. You just kind of throw it. Nothing should touch. And then that's how the person of knowledge consumes all, eats up. Meaning, for that person, no divisions exist. All divisions are mixed up and made into a ball, and swaha. You know and then what? And what is death? Death is a little pickle, a side dish on that plate with, with which the person, what is that, anoints this little ball, dips the little ball in the sauce. Death is a little sauce. And then, makes short shrift of death. And why are we talking about all this? This is the Kathopanishad, by the way. We are talking about this because, all these verses, all these mantras in the Upanishads would become useless if enlightenment were an event that happened to the self. And then we would all be talking like this. How many Upanishads did it take you to become enlightened? I got enlightened in my second Upanishad. And in my third Prakarana Grantha. Prakarana Grantha is what is the secondary text. Already there is competition. Already people, I suppose that's why online is very nice sometimes, because you don't have to deal with this particular aspect of one's insecurity. How much does the other person sitting on the left know? How much does the other person sitting on the right know? Well, this one doesn't know much because they're not nodding their head very often. They're not, and this one is not showing any signs of life in the class. May as well be a sthānu, insentient, you know. But this one, is taking copious notes. Maybe I should take more notes. All this is not there. It's all just whatever. Already this is a problem. But supposing if enlightenment were an event that happened to the self, then I will say that it anir moksha prasanga comes into the picture. Moksha is not at all a possibility, because even after gaining this knowledge, you are still in the grip of time. So that this is a very big difference between object knowledge and subject knowledge. Object knowledge happens in a particular time, in a particular place. Subject knowledge, is what? It does not, it's a gradual shedding of that which doesn't belong. So we can see Atma knowledge. We can say that Atma knowledge, self knowledge, is more a growing clarity with regard to who I am. In the beginning, I thought I knew. Well, there was some sense that I'm not just this body, I'm not just this mind, I'm not just the senses, something more than this. I had that idea. And it was confirmed by Upanishad study. There was an aha moment. I said, OMG. There was an OMG moment. And then what? Then I understood. Oh. And then I thought, I've been studying Vedanta for 6 months. But before that, I didn't know anything. Now I know everything. 6 more months go by. Oh my God, 6 months ago, I was a fool and an idiot. Now I know more. 6 more months go by. OMG. Oh my God becomes oh me God, same acronym. OMG. I think I know. I think I got this. I think I got this. So knowledge is not one aha moment. It is a series of aha moments. In fact, it's a series of swaha moments where all the self ignorance, self doubts, wrong notions, fears, tears, swaha, swaha, swaha in that fire, which is a conflagration and which burns up that which doesn't belong. So even though we might encounter phrases in the Upanishads like the knowledge rises or in the wake of knowledge, knowledge doesn't wake up. The ahankara awakens to its glory. And it's not a one time thing. It's not a one time thing. It's not some kind, like, at 4:45 a.m. This way it's called Brahma Muhuratam, Muhurtam. In Brahma Muhurtam, 4:45 a.m. Then what happened? I was enlightened. So what shall we do? I throw me a party, next year. Actually, it's a very sad party because you're telling everybody that until then you did not know anything. And then if knowledge comes in time, then what is the guarantee it will not go in time? That which comes in time goes in time. So timeless knowledge of the self already is. Nothing rises. Na udeti, na astameti. Drik drishya viveka says this. It does not rise. It does not set. It already is there. But there is debris. There is a hidden treasure, filled with all kinds of leaves, the compost, and then dirt, and all kinds of it's a landfill. Actually, I just listed some biodegradable stuff, but you can also add styrofoam and other non-degradable things. There is a landfill of ragadveshas. And of course, the teaching cannot haul it all away at once. You know, in fact, you haul it away. That's why it's called you haul. You haul it away. You haul away the landfill. So, it's little by little. Because those ragadveshas are buried so deep that they have become part of the unconscious. Unconscious means you don't know it exists. How can you remove something that you don't even know is there? So therefore what? So therefore Shravanam, that's why Shravanam is an exercise that is a committed exposure until one knows. That's why knowledge is more to be understood. Self knowledge is, you know, growing clarity rather than, some event that happens to me. The self is, you know, inoculated against any events, because an event or an experience is something that happens in time, you gain it in time, you lose it in time. And so, therefore, we have to come away from this kind of a thinking. So, the object knowledge and subject knowledge have really nothing to do with one another. Subject knowledge is special, it is you, and this is what is gained only through Shravanam. But why do we have to say only? When you say only, I get uncomfortable. Why can't I intuit the knowledge? Because it is the content, the truth of the intuitor. Why can't I deduce this knowledge? Because it is not available for deduction. It is not appropriately available for deduction. You cannot intuit it, you cannot deduce it, you cannot infer it, because it's not a subject matter of inference. In fact, I should say it's not an object of inference. Subject cannot be inferred. We already saw what happened to Descartes. What happens if you put the cart before the horse? What happens? You know? So the subject is not supposed to be inferred, because we are talking of the nature, the truth of the inferer. And then the subject cannot be directly perceived by the eyes, the ears, etc. And then so the subject is not available for any means of the knowledge that you may hold in your grubby paws and feel very good about. And in a way it's good, because this is the means of knowledge that you have in your hand and you think you are operating, actually you are not operating. Even sight happens, knowledge happens, so sight happens. Your will is not involved. You are, and then you own yourself up as an agent of that sight. But sight already has taken place. In fact, you see things despite yourself, in spite of yourself, not really because you are there. Sight has taken place. So really, there is it's not possible even to own up the means of knowledge that you operate, but there is an illusion. Rather, I should call it a delusion that I am the one operating this means of knowledge. And if I am the one operating this means of knowledge, then I should be able to know myself also through one of these means of knowledge. Here is where a big pitfall. It will never happen. You know, it's just like saying, I need a surgery. There is a growth somewhere in the stomach and I need to have it removed. But why should I go to a doctor? You know, I'll just look up online how to excise tumor. And then, I can go to a medical supply shop and get a few scalpels. And then what? I'll buy some local anesthesia. And then I will just do this operation on my own. Cannot happen. And so when there is some tumor that needs to be excised, then you get on Google, because you want to have as much control as possible. You Google all the surgeons, you Google their success rate, and you find someone with a 99% success rate. Only two patients have died in 50 years. You feel very good. Okay, this person knows. I'm going to this person for my surgery. You fix up the date, and the surgeon says, don't worry, everything will go well. Of course you are nervous. You have to subject yourself to this, to this operation. Then as you're being wheeled in, somebody comes, a woman, let us say, you know an Indian woman. This is actually somebody's experience that they told me. So this man went into this surgery. There was some benign growth that was in the intestine and had to be removed, you know in the colon, and had to be removed. It was not cancerous, therefore it wasn't dangerous, but it could not be allowed to grow further, had to be removed. So he had googled the surgeon, he was very happy, he was very confident. And then this 4 foot 10 inch Indian woman came just before the surgery. Hi, I am your anesthesiologist, slight, thin looking. And then, what is your weight? And this is the only time you don't want to lie about your weight, because the anesthesia is administered according to how much you weigh and what is your age, all these things. But then this is not the time to say, what is your name? Give me my smartphone, which you have taken, because the person has already nearly been sterilized and is being prepped for surgery, almost being wheeled into the room. This is not the time to say, what is your name? I want to Google you. How many people have you killed? You know, this is not the time. And you may be flustered. The person says he was very flustered, felt completely out of control, especially when she smiled again, a sweet smile, and handed him a pad, a notepad, and on which was a clipboard, on which a little piece of paper and a pen hanging from there. Please sign on the dotted line. What am I signing? What am I signing? Well, you know, anesthesia, especially these days, is extremely safe. But once in a while you may not come back, and so your relatives will not take us to task and give a malpractice suit. It all depends on your comorbidities. And being an Indian woman, she said your karma, you know. It's not karma, okay? Yeah. Only if you have car trouble, it's karma. Otherwise, it's karma. Okay. So it's because of your karma. And he had to sign. He had no option. It was too late to back out. And he had already paid the hospital. He had already checked in. He had already spent sleepless nights. And he had to completely give over to this 4 foot 10.5 inch woman, Indian woman, who he had never seen, whose name he still doesn't know. Even if he said it, he was so nervous. Even if she said it, he doesn't know that at all to this day. And then what, And then the surgeon comes into the picture. Sometimes I think, the surgeon benefits from your anesthesia as much as you do. Of course, you don't feel any pain, but the surgeon doesn't want any interference in this operation. Otherwise, if you were awake, you would be saying, is that the right scalpel, doctor? I think you're using quite a big one. I think that's huge. And then you feel something. Are you cutting in the right place? Oh, come on, double check. Where is your medical manual? The surgeon wants you to be nice and quiet and pliable, because the surgeon wants to do his or her job, you know. And therefore, the anesthesiologist precedes the surgeon, and then you have the surgery. Vedanta is also like that. But where is the anesthesiologist? Those are the jokes in the class, to that help one to drop the guard. You laugh, you are one with yourself. You don't know vritti vyapti is taking place. You're enjoying akhandakara vritti without knowing that it's happening. If you knew that it was happening, you wouldn't enjoy it, because then you would become a nervous wreck. Akhandakara vritti did not come in this class. Oh, last class also it did not come. When is it coming? When is it coming? Maybe this teacher doesn't know how to teach. Maybe I should go guru shopping. Oh God, how boring. Last time also I had to go guru shopping. Why me? See, now instead of enjoying the class, you're in the depths of samsara, sitting right next to the teacher. How sad. So, if you ask what is the anesthesia in this surgery, in this operation called excising growths, in fact, the tumorous growth called Atma Ajnanam is Anyatha Jnanam. The pilage, so much, the piling, the endless piling of all kinds of wrong notions of the self are cleanly excised by the Guru, who's operating the means of knowledge. The Shastra is the scalpel, and the anesthesia are the jokes, the anecdotes, the stories that make you relax. This is also got from our Guru, you know. That's why it's a wonderful deal to study Vedanta, because you not only know the knowledge, but you know also how to teach. That is the beautiful thing. That is why, the Vedanta Shastra, what is that text we have studying? We are studying Shatashloki. We are studying a text called Shatashloki, where the author says, some Shankaracharya says in the first verse, this, shall I compare the Guru to a philosopher's stone, which touches everything and turns it into gold, says the author. First line. Second line, nay, that comparison is so inept, is so inadequate. Why? Because the Guru is able to, unlike the philosopher's stone, which can only convert, ashma means iron into gold, some kind of a magical, through a process of magical alchemy. What does the Guru do? The Guru, who is the philosopher's stone, can turn another, can turn the student into a philosopher's stone. Ah, this is what the thing is. The Guru creates other Gurus. By how? All in the Pramana. Through the Pramana. Through giving the Pramana of this self knowledge. So self knowledge means you know how to teach. You know the methodology. You inherit the methodology. And so that is what happens, and that is why, this surgery example again. I cannot take credit for it, because this is the second or the third stanza in the Guru Stotram, you know where, you know ajnanatimirandhasya jnananjanashalakaya chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai shri gurave namaha. Namaha unto that Guru. My salutations, my surrender unto that Guru. Who is this Guru? The one who removes ajnanam, who has removed from my eyes. The Guru is a surgeon who has done cataract surgery, by excising the cataracts from my vision. And what kind of a vision was it? It was a vision of division. And then now the cataracts are gone. I finally see only one thing. Before I saw many, many things. All it was a split vision. And now it is a vision of oneness. With the scalpel of the Upanishad, the Guru excised you know, excised the cataracts of ignorance, freeing me to see myself as whole. This, my friends, is Shravanam. This is what is the meaning of Shravanam. This is what is called Jnana Phala, which is Shravana Phala. This is why one has to subject oneself to this surgery gladly, happily, because you'll come out of it healthy. Even though you may be scared, you'll come out of it much healthier, much lighter. Enlightened or not, you'll be lightened of wrong notions. That is for sure. This is Shravanam, and this is the only thing that is needed. Surgery is the only thing that is needed. Simple, nothing, this kind of a surgery of the removal of, notions, finite notions that, trouble me as the jiva, is the only thing that is needed. But then, sometimes, after surgery, what happens? The patient needs to be sent to rehab, correct? Where the muscles are exercised in a particular way, where the person is taught to walk, or some with with the help of some kind of thing, where they regain their strength and their abilities in a certain way. And so, mananam, the next thing that we have in here, atmava are mantavyaha. Mantavyaha is a kind of a mental rehab. If and when Shravanam is not enough. Shravanam is enough. But if the Shravanam leaves a few things in place that should not be there, like doubts, Mananam is a mental rehab where you go for doubt removal. And please remember, doubt removal, as we'll see, in the next class, is not brainwashing. It is where you are an active participant, where you remove your doubts through kind of, allowing there for some agitation to take place, through living with that doubt, to playing with the doubt, in the sense of, comparing that doubt to the words of the Shastra that you are internalizing. So Mananam is a mental rehab, where you go to, get stronger in the knowledge, to abide, for, abide in the knowledge without vagueness or doubts or error. Remember also, Mananam does not produce the knowledge. Shravanam alone, Shravanam also doesn't produce the knowledge, but produce, we can put in apostrophes, you can put in inverted commas, because Shravanam, through Shravanam you as though gain the knowledge, and through Mananam, you strengthen what is there by going deeper and removing the doubts. So what this Mananam is, and what these doubts are to, which are to be removed, we will see in the next class. Only two more classes, right? Am I correct? Or are there three?
Two more, Swaminiji.
After this, two more, correct?
Yes, tonight
Okay.
and then tomorrow morning.
All right, wonderful. So hang in there. You're doing very well. You can hang in there for two more classes, and so we will see this and conclude. All right. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadagya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Yeah.
Swaminiji, Shuddhatma ji is joined.
He's here?
Yes, he
Yes,
is here.
Swamini, I'm here.
Oh, where are you?
Um,
Wonderful. I see you now. Very
Thank you,
nice.
Swamiji. Do
Om
you all hear?
Shuddhatma ji.
Namaskar, Swamiji, pranams. Do you all hear me, viewers?
Yes, we can hear
Yes.
you.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Morning, viewers.
Good morning. Good
Good
morning,
morning.
Shuddhatma ji.
Namaskar.
Good morning.
I'm just made few notes. I'll quickly read for all of you. That's what's going on at the Gurukulam. So, on behalf of the Gurukulam, I immensely thank all of you for dedicating 10 days of your time for listening to the Upanishad and other texts with Swamini Svatmavidyananda ji. Always, Swaminiji's classes are very relaxing, very educative, and you cannot miss any point. So many medical terms she brought, and I'm sure even doctors are not aware of them. But Swamini used all of them and related to the Vedanta. So Swaminiji, pranams on everybody's behalf for taking really extra pain to televise these classes all the way from India. I'm sure all of you know, Swaminiji is not here. This is all done from India, and a lot of time differences are there. But keeping aside all of them, Swamini really taking extra effort to teach all of you. That is her greatness. Thank you, Swaminiji, on everybody's behalf.
It's
Pranam.
all, thank you. It is all Guru's grace. And we try to give the Arsha Vidya look by having curtains behind, similar
Yes, correct.
curtains.
Yes, that is Swamiji's,
Thanks to.
Swamiji's favorite
Yes,
color. And Arsha Vidya look
correct.
is there. And behind, you cannot
Yes,
miss Puja Swamiji.
yes, that's
So
right. We see
the
that.
tradition is flowing through without missing anything. Next is, I'm sure quite a few of you have been attending this Swaminiji's Upanishad class, are all connected to the Gurukulam in some way through our programs. With the blessings of Lord Dakshinamurti, Pujya Swamiji, and all our teachers and Swamijis, and board members, and generosity and supports of everyone, and hard work of the students and volunteers, we are able to complete 34 years of the seva and dissemination of Vedanta to all. So this is all credit goes to Puja Swamiji, and we will be celebrating 34th anniversary on September 20th. You're all welcome to watch this virtually, because we cannot invite everyone due to COVID restrictions, but we are going to live stream this event on September 28th, starting at 9:30 a.m. with music by Pandit Mukesh Desai, followed by talks by Tattvavidananji and Pratyek Bodhananji, and any other Swamijis are there, Muktatmananji, they will all deliver. And Swami Viditatmanji will be sending a recorded message. And of course, the highlight of the whole function would be listening to Puja Swamiji's talk also. So please note down this date without forgetting, September 20th on Sunday at 9:30 a.m. So please come and visit the Gurukulam, Sellersburg. I'm sure some of the people are in India also. They are welcome to come here. When you feel safe and healthy because of this COVID thing is going on. So I once again thank Swaminiji for taking all efforts to teach for all these 10 days. You need stamina, you need technology, information and whatnot. Everything is so important, but with God's grace, everything went so well and classes are going on very well, and we will have one more day classes with Swamiji. So we certainly run a Gurukulam in time to come, and all these years, number of people have come forward to help us financially continue our activities. So I request all of you to make contributions as much as possible, uh, so that we'll continue to give this teaching to all of you free as much as possible. That was Puja Swamiji's Sankalpam, that teaching should be always given free. There is no price for the teaching. So in return, what you can do is help the Gurukulam so that we continue to give this teaching through different teachers in time to come. Once again, thank you all for attending this camp for 10 days. And my special thanks to Swaminijis for taking extra efforts. And our thanks to Chitraji, who has helped us to uh, create this class, etc. So thank you very much, and hope to see all of you here when right time comes. I have to say this because of COVID. Take care and stay healthy and happy. Namaste.
You too.
Namaskar,
You too.
Swamiji.
Om, om,
Om.
om, om.
Thank you, Ji. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. So
Thank
you have 2 more classes today, evening
Yes.
at 4 o'clock, another class, and 8 o'clock tonight. And
Yes.
tomorrow, I think Swaminiji, you have 2 classes or 1 class?
One
class. So
class.
Swaminiji will conclude tomorrow 1 class.
Yeah, tomorrow morning. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Continue to enjoy the rest of the classes.
Thank
Have a
you.
wonderful time. Namaste.
Namaskar.
Namaskar.
Oh, there is one question here about Nididhyasanam. I will address that when we discuss Nididhyasanam. Okay, we haven't yet talked about it. It comes from the root verb dhyai, to meditate, and nishchaya, so nishchaya dhyanam, so something to contemplate for gaining certainty and abiding in that teaching. That's all it means. So, if there are any other questions, I will take. And where does grace come? Oh, one more question. Where does grace come into the picture? I have heard that Guru's grace is the only way, only thing that gives self knowledge. You seem to say that self knowledge is a gradual and slow process where our mind is our only Guru. No, that's not what I'm saying. I think in the last few classes, if you go back and listen, we have talked a lot about the need for Guru. We have talked about Shraddha, and that is the connection between the teacher and the student. The student relates to the Guru and the teaching with Shraddha, which is a devotional reverence. And Guru's grace means the grace is already there, and the grace is something that is tapped into. You tap into the grace. The grace is something which which is there like an aquifer, like an underground body of water. You tap into it and it is there for you. It comes out. This is the beauty of the thing called grace. Grace in Sanskrit is anugraha. It's not some the kind of, it's not like a lotion which is dispensed, randomly, whether it's Bhagavan's grace or Guru's grace. Then either Bhagavan or Guru will be accused of having the partiality. This in Sanskrit is called Nairghrinya dosha. Adi Shankara's term appears in the second chapter of Bhashya of Bhagavad Gita. Nairghrinya dosha. But there is no Nairghrinya dosha in the part of giving this knowledge. The knowledge is freely given, but the Shraddha is what activates the grace and you are able to tap into it. Shraddha is what is like a shovel or like a, that hoe with which you dig. That's what it is. You dig into that which is freely available. And the cultivation of Shraddha does that. And I said it's a gradual process because it's a gradual shedding of ajnanam. That is what it is. It's not an event that happens to the self. Mind is not the guru. In fact, the only thing we can say about the mind with certainty is never mind. That's the only thing we can say. Okay? Yeah. All the best. See you later. Om
Oh,
Tat Sat.
thank you.
Om. Oh, one more this thing. For objective knowledge, we term vritti vyapti, and subject knowledge, it is, there is no phala vyapti. Correct. You have understood this correctly, Pungode. Om.
Thank
Om,
you.
Om. Yeah,
Thank
thank you, everybody.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Shuddhatma
Thank
ji.
you.
Thank
Namaskar,
you.
Swamini
Om.
ji. Thank you so
Namaskar,
much.
Shuddhatma ji. Lovely to see you. Wonderful.
Same.
Om. Yeah, very happy.
Namaskar.
Thank you, Swamini ji. Thank you.
you.